seen the look on your faces. You sound like a little girl.
From a shirtless audition in a G-string to an episode fans absolutely hated, we're diving deep into the Upside Down to uncover 20 weird and surprising facts about the 1984 Hawkins adventure in Stranger Things Season 2. Fact 1.
Plant them next time. Draw a charge.
When Dacre Montgomery wanted the role of Billy Hargrove, he decided to break every single self-tape audition rule in the book. The Australian actor filmed his audition tape completely shirtless, wearing only a nude-colored G-string while dancing wildly to Come On Eileen by Dex's Midnight Runners. Acting coaches later called it one of the most bizarre yet effective audition tapes they'd ever seen. Montgomery told GQ he knew the role would receive thousands of auditions because of the show's massive success after season 1, so he wanted to make a splash with the Duffer Brothers. He had the audition details for about 1 day and filmed everything in that first day because he was so overwhelmingly excited. In another part of the tape, he recreated Kiefer Sutherland's menacing villain monologue from Stand By Me. Montgomery also acted out the scene where Billy threatens to run over Max's new friends while driving. He sent the tape at 11 p.m. Australian time and woke up the next day to a request from the Duffer Brothers for a Skype call. The wild approach worked perfectly. Montgomery's combination of menacing intensity and over-the-top 80s energy landed him the role. By 2017, the audition tape had gone viral with millions of views across Facebook and YouTube. People were recognizing Montgomery in bars not from Power Rangers or Stranger Things, but from his unforgettable audition tape. Fact 2. Bob Newby was supposed to die way earlier than he did. The Duffer Brothers originally planned for Will Byers to kill Bob in Season 2's 3rd episode, while the Mind Flayer completely possessed Will's body. Bob was supposed to die while driving Will to school. According to the creators, Bob wasn't designed to be the likable character who eventually perished. He was designed to be kind of just an out-of-it dork. But then they cast Sean Astin, and everything changed. The Duffers fell in love with Astin as a person and as an actor. They kept kicking Bob's death down the road and pushing it further back. They kept pushing it and pushing it until they got to episode 8 and realized narratively they still had to do it. Matt Duffer said it was the hardest scene to write all year because it was hard to lose that character and lose Sean. They had such a great time working with him. Sean Levy initially had some reluctance about hiring Astin because The Goonies was already such a huge influence on season 2. But Astin gave an incredible audition. Sean Astin later revealed that the Duffer Brothers told him they were sobbing while writing Bob's death scene. Astin joked that they could have just added a comma to the script and had Bob realize the Demodogs were still behind him so he could keep running and escape. The cast and crew loved working with Astin so much that Noah Schnapp and Winona Ryder actually protested to keep him on set. Fact 3. Season 2's 7th episode, The Lost Sister, became the most hated episode in the entire Stranger Things series. It currently sits at a brutal 6.0 on IMDb, making it by far the lowest rated episode. The episode originally had a different title called The Lost Brother because Kali Prasad was originally written as a male character named Roman. When Linnea Berthelsen was cast, the character was changed to female, and the episode title changed to reflect this. The episode took place entirely in Chicago, following Eleven as she tracked down her psychic sister Kaylee. None of the main Hawkins cast appeared except for brief moments in the void and flashbacks. Fans absolutely hated it for multiple reasons. The placement was terrible as episode 7 out of 9, right when the main Mind Flayer and will possession story was reaching its climax. The episode killed all momentum and switched to a mostly unrelated side story. Kaylee's punk gang felt embarrassingly uncool with their mohawks and Cyndi Lauper hairdos. Critics said they looked like extras from the late 90s New Zealand TV show The Tribe. The dialogue was atrocious, and the acting from the new cast felt flat compared to the main ensemble. Many fans felt the episode was a failed backdoor pilot for a potential spin-off that never happened. Digital Spy called the gang's aesthetic deeply cringe-inducing rather than warmly nostalgic like the rest of the show. Fact 4. Noah Schnapp went through absolute hell filming Will's exorcism scene in Season 2. The young actor spent hours researching possessions on YouTube and Google, even though he acknowledged possession isn't a proven scientific thing that happens. He looked at stories and what happens to people who have been through possessions. He thought deeply about what it would be like to be inside this massive, powerful monster's brain. The exorcism scene required Schnapp to scream at the top of his lungs for hours. The directors told him, "Noah, for certain parts you don't have to scream," but Schnapp felt like it would look so fake if he didn't scream and just opened his mouth. So he decided he would scream for real. He thought to himself, "Okay, I can do this. By the end of the night, his voice just completely disappeared for the next week. It was totally gone. Schnapp said, "This scene better turn out good." The scene was so intense that Winona Ryder came up to him afterwards saying, "Oh my baby, Noah, are you okay?" Schnapp thought to himself, yes, that's what everyone else is going to think. Sean Levy remembered watching Schnapp on the football field in the middle of the night, screaming at nothingness. Schnapp did that kind of primal work all season long. Fact 5.
Why is no one else wearing costumes?
The boys' iconic Ghostbusters costumes for Halloween required special permission from Hollywood legends. The Duffer Brothers had to have an actual phone conversation with Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd because they had to grant approval for Stranger Things to use the Ghostbusters costumes. The use of Ghostbusters was officially approved by Columbia Pictures, Sony Ghost Corps, Ivan Reitman, and Dan Aykroyd. This meant Netflix was able to use the iconic Ghostbusters logo and jumpsuits in promotional materials and merchandise. The season was heavily promoted with a photo showing Dustin and the boys in their Ghostbusters costumes. In the show, the boys are upset because 2 of them wanted to be Venkman. They all assumed Lucas the Black Kid would be Winston, but Lucas refused. The kids wore homemade proton packs and ghost traps. Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters song plays in the episode and during the end credits. Upon completion of filming Season 2, Finn Wolfhard received a nice gift basket from Ghost Corps. The note on the card, signed by Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd, read, "Finn from all of us at Ghost Corps. Congrats on wrapping Season 2 of Stranger Things. We can't wait to see the spirit of Ghostbusters come alive this season." Finn posted a photo of it on his Instagram in May 2017. Finn would later play Trevor Spengler in Ghostbusters Afterlife years later. Fact 6. The visual effects team had to create physical models for the kids to interact with during Demodog scenes. Paul Graff came up with the idea to do 3D prints of the Tadpole, the Frogagorgon, and the Catagorgon stages. They turned those prints into silicone puppets so the kids actually had something physical to interact with on set. The actors had eye lines and could actually hold something and practice taping stuff around in the AV room. They could see what the creatures looked like. The production team always shot a pass with their actual puppets, then shot a pass with chrome balls. The chrome balls were nice and heavy, so when actors handed them over, there was a physical response on the hands from the weight. Once you have that response, you get much better results when you apply the computer-generated figure because it really interacts with the hand. The book Stranger Things: Worlds Turned Upside Down reveals the internal names used for the phases of the life cycle were Polywog Frogagorgon, Catagorgon, Demodog, and Demogorgon. The first 2 stages were designed with the intention of not giving away the creature's species. D'Artagnan's red-green skin color was chosen to resemble something that would occur in nature with yellow spots to help distinguish him from other members of his species. The most challenging scene was Bob being eaten by Demodogs, which required extensive physical interaction between Sean Astin and the CG creatures. Fact 7. One of Season 2's funniest moments happened completely by accident. After Billy beats up Steve Lucas and the gang have to drive Steve's unconscious body around. In the car, Steve is still really out of it and confused. He wakes up in the back seat with Max behind the wheel. In his groggy state, he looks at Mike and calls him Nancy. This hilarious moment was completely improvised by Joe Keery on set. Keery explained, "I was really kind of beat up at that point in the show." He said, "The moment of me calling him Nancy was an improv on set that we ended up keeping because it was kind of funny. The moment perfectly captured Steve's concussed confusion and added some much-needed comic relief to an intense sequence. The improvisation worked so well that the Duffer Brothers kept it in the final cut. It became one of the most memorable and quotable lines from the season. Fans loved the moment because it showed Steve's vulnerability and added to his character development. The scene helped establish Steve as more than just the popular jock. It was moments like this that transformed Steve Harrington into one of the show's most beloved characters. Joe Keery's natural comedic timing and willingness to improvise helped create the lovable version of Steve that fans know today. The scene also set up Steve's amazing friendship with Dustin that would become central to future seasons. Fact 8. Lucas Sinclair's signature scream became famous because Caleb McLaughlin actually did it in real life all the time. McLaughlin explained, "It was an iconic scream. I used to do it a lot on set just to have fun." When his production colleagues caught wind of his unique yell, they decided to make good use of it. McLaughlin said, "I'm like, I can scream that loud. No one can do it." The producers put it in the show, and McLaughlin thought it was great. The scream became one of Lucas's most memorable character traits throughout the series. McLaughlin's natural personality and vocal abilities directly influenced how the character was written and portrayed portrayed. The Duffer Brothers loved incorporating real-life quirks and talents from their young actors into the show. This made the characters feel more authentic and three-dimensional. McLaughlin's scream perfectly captured Lucas's personality as the most outspoken and reactive member of the group. The scream appeared multiple times throughout Season 2 whenever Lucas was scared or surprised. Fans began imitating the scream, and it became a popular meme within the Stranger Things community. McLaughlin's willingness to bring his own personality to the role helped make Lucas one of the most memorable characters. The production team appreciated having actors who were comfortable being themselves and contributing creative ideas. The iconic scream is just one example of how the young cast helped shape their characters. Fact 9.
We weren't stalking you. Yeah, for your safety.
Is that why you're wearing proton packs?
When Sadie Sink auditioned for the role of Max Mayfield, the producers initially hesitated because she was older. Sink was 14 at the time of her audition. Speaking to Fashion Magazine in 2022, Sink said the show's producers were initially hesitant to audition her because of the age difference. She told the magazine, "I just begged and pleaded with them to give me more material so I could show them something fresh." The producers eventually brought her in for a chemistry read with Gaten Matarazzo and Caleb McLaughlin. Sink landed the role the very next day. Her persistence and determination convinced the Duffer Brothers to give her a chance. Once they saw her chemistry with the other actors and her ability to embody Max's tough skateboarding character, they knew she was perfect. Sink brought exactly the right energy and attitude to the role. Max needed to be confident enough to stand up to the boys and hold her own in their group. Sink's slightly older age actually worked in her favor because it gave her the maturity and presence the character needed. She became an instant fan favorite. Sink's performance as Max showcased her range as an actress. She balanced vulnerability with strength perfectly. The role launched Sink's career, and she went on to become one of the show's most important characters in later seasons. Fact 10.
Don't do that, okay?
One of the most beloved friendships in Stranger Things history almost didn't happen. Matt Duffer revealed, "My favorite this year is the Dustin and Steve combination, which actually wasn't in the initial pitch to Netflix." He explained that Steve was kind of getting sidelined and had nothing really interesting to do. Meanwhile, Dustin found himself cornered with no one to go to. This led to the Dustin and Steve team up, which turned out to be so much fun. The Duffer Brothers realized pretty quickly that this new duo was going to be a hit. They said, "When you have that much fun writing it and the actors have that much fun shooting it, I think all bets are off." The bromance between Steve and Dustin became one of the highlights of Season 2. Fans absolutely loved watching the former high school jock become a protective big brother to the nerdy middle schooler. Their friendship felt genuine and heartwarming. The chemistry between Joe Keery and Gaten Matarazzo was undeniable. They played off each other perfectly, with Dustin looking up to Steve as a cool older brother figure, and Steve embracing his new role as babysitter and protector. The relationship transformed Steve from a somewhat one-dimensional popular kid into a beloved character with real depth. It also gave Dustin a new dynamic outside his friend group. The writers capitalized on this unexpected pairing and made it central to future seasons. Fact 11.
8:15.
Millie Bobby Brown made a huge sacrifice for Season 1 by actually shaving her head to play 11. The original plan was for her hair to be completely shaved off. Hairstylist Sarah Heinsgall explained that planning to cut it was hard and emotional, but by the time they did it, Millie had decided that it was the right thing. They started by cutting it to about 2 inches, so no one went into a panic. It took a couple of hours before they got it all the way down to her head. For months after, Brown was dealing with people approaching her in town and in airports saying, "Oh, what a cute little boy." Brown later said shaving her head felt liberating. She told interviewers, "When you're bald, rain feels like a head massage. I'd walk in the rain, and people would look at me like I was crazy. I'd be smiling, so happy to have the water hit my naked head." However, people also stared at her wondering whether she was sick. Some would even laugh at her without knowing whether she was or wasn't sick. It was hurtful, but their attitude taught her something about compassion. By Season 2, Brown's hair had grown back to shoulder length, and she wore her own hair throughout most of the season. For flashback scenes in Season 4, when Eleven returns to Hawkins' lab, the production used incredibly realistic wigs that fooled viewers completely. Fact 12. The Duffer Brothers revealed in a Time interview that they knew 4 Stranger Things characters would die basically from the moment they started writing those characters. Those 4 characters were Barb Holland, played by Shannon Purser, Bob Newby, played by Sean Astin Billy Hargrove, played by Dacre Montgomery, and Eddie Munson, played by Joseph Quinn. There was basically one major character death in every season of the series. Barb was killed at the end of the 2nd episode of Season 1. Bob died at the end of Season 2, followed by Billy at the end of Season 3, and Eddie at the end of Season 4. 4. 2 of those characters actually stuck around longer than they were meant to, according to the Duffers. Those characters were Barb and Bob. Ross Duffer said Barb died in the pilot script we sold to Netflix. Matt revealed they changed Bob's character because they loved Aston so much. They tried to make the character more endearing, which made him more of a focal point and fan favorite of the season. Bob didn't die in episode 3 like he was supposed to, and didn't die in episode 4. Finally, they made it all the way to episode 8 and said, if we're going to do it, we have to do it. It was hard writing his death scene because it meant saying goodbye to Sean Astin, who is such a great guy.
Conspiracy, I'm telling you.
Be cool.
Who are you gonna call?
Fact 13. The Duffer Brothers made a deliberate creative choice with the title of Season 2. They decided the second season should be treated more like a sequel rather than a continuation. Because of this, they opted to call it Stranger Things 2 instead of just Stranger Things Season 2. This naming convention was meant to evoke the feeling of 80s movie sequels like Aliens and Terminator 2. The Duffers wanted each season to feel like its own complete story while building on what came before. They wrote the second season to make the combined first and second seasons feel like complete work. However, they also set elements in place to go forward with additional seasons if they were greenlit. While most of the story for the second season had been decided before the first season aired, the Duffer Brothers took in audience reactions from season 1 to adjust some details within season 2. They knew they wouldn't have the same element of audience surprise as when the series aired. Ross Duffer said, "The point is not to give everyone what they think they want, because I don't think they really know what they want." The sequel approach helped distinguish season 2 as its own entity with a darker tone and expanded scope. The naming choice was reflected in promotional materials and marketing campaigns. This approach continued with future seasons of the show. Fact 14.
See, it all works out in the end.
Hey, Joyce, how you doing?
Before Sean Astin became the beloved Bob Newby, he actually auditioned for a completely different character. Astin originally auditioned for the part of Murray Bauman, the conspiracy theorist reporter investigating the Russian connection. Astin told Collider that he auditioned for that part with help from his daughter Elizabeth. He said, I auditioned for the part of the reporter, you know who I mean. He's investigating the Russian thing. I auditioned for that part, and my daughter Elizabeth helped me with that audition. The Duffer Brothers told him, we like it, it's good, but we have another idea for this character, Bob. Elizabeth had a final exam, so she couldn't help him prepare for Bob. His youngest daughter, Bella, helped him prepare for the Bob audition instead. The role of Murray Bauman eventually went to Brett Gelman, who brought a completely different energy to the character. Astin's Bob was the perfect role for him, as it allowed him to play the sweet everyman character he's known for. Bob became an instant fan favorite, partly because of Astin's natural warmth and likability. The casting choice worked out perfectly for everyone involved. Gelman's Murray brought conspiracy theorist paranoia and dark humor, while Astin's Bob brought genuine kindness and heroism. Both characters became important parts of the Stranger Things universe. Astin's willingness to audition for different roles showed his commitment to being part of the show.
There's another girl and she's missing, and I think she's
Fact
in
15.
trouble.
Stranger Things. Season 2 became a global phenomenon, breaking viewership records around the world. Nielsen ratings records show viewership data for those who watch the series on TV sets, but the data doesn't account for mobile, tablet, or PC devices. Season 2 was recognized by Parrot Analytics as the most in-demand digital original series in the world in 2017. This was a massive achievement considering the competition from other streaming platforms. In August 2017, the marketing analytics firm JumpShot determined Season 2 was the 7th most viewed Netflix season in the first 30 days after it was released. It garnered slightly more than 20% of the viewers that the second season of Daredevil received, which was the most viewed season, according to JumpShot. JumpShot analyzes clickstream data from an online panel of more than 100 million consumers. They looked at viewing behavior and activity of the company's U.S. members, factoring in the relative number of U.S. Netflix viewers who watched at least one episode of the season. On Rotten Tomatoes, the second season has an approval rating of 94% based on 151 reviews, with an average rating of 7.8 out of 10. The site's critical consensus praised the season, saying, Stranger Things' slow-building sophomore season balances moments of humor and nostalgic sweetness against growing horror that's all the more effective thanks to full-bodied characters and evocative tone. Fact 16. Kim Wilcox, who had worked on films like Stronger and TV shows like Mr. Robot, came on board as the new costume designer for Season 2. Since the season was moving a year later to the fall of 1984, it needed to pay homage to films released during that timeline. Wilcox looked at films like Gremlins, Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, and The Temple of Doom and The Outsiders for inspiration and authenticity. However, it was kids of middle school and high school yearbooks that drove the biggest inspiration. Netflix offered Kim Wilcox and her team a bigger budget for Season 2, which gave them the opportunity to create a bigger archive of clothing. She shopped at many local shops in Atlanta and other vintage stores in Little Five Points. The team relied on heritage brands that still manufactured the same styles of the 80s due to the lead kid's tendency for rapid growth in a very quick period of time. For the Halloween Ghostbusters costumes, the crews had to think about whose costume would be more together and whose would be less. This meant Will's outfit was more relaxed compared to the precise ones of Mike, Dustin, and Lucas. For the snowball dance sequence, the team had to see what was right and fitting for the boys' personalities, because they were just on the edge of becoming adults and experiencing a lot of new things. Fact 17. Season 2 officially began production on November 4th, 2016 with a social media post showing some cast members at a table read. Actual filming started on November 7th, 2016. On November 14th, 2016, photos of the cast on set in Atlanta were published, showing the main cast of kids and teens from the previous season minus Millie Bobby Brown and Natalia Dyer, though a body double for Nancy appeared to be present. Chelsea Talmadge, who portrays the recurring character Carol, was also spotted. None of the new cast members were seen that day, but the names Max and Billy were visible on cast trailers, implying newcomers Sadie Sink and Dacre Montgomery were present. By early April 2017, the final 2 episodes had commenced filming scenes in Woodland, Georgia, seen previously in Season 1. An extras casting call revealed filming was planned for November 11th, 15th, 16th, and 18th for scenes at the middle school. Filming dates of November 14th, 15th, and 16th and December 8th were scheduled for the high school. The quick turnaround from filming to release was remarkable. The season was released on October 27, 2017, giving the post-production team about 6 months to complete all visual effects, music, sound design, and editing. This tight schedule required all departments working simultaneously to meet the October deadline. The production schedule was ambitious, but necessary to maintain momentum from Season 1's summer 2016 release. Fact 18. Season 2 is set exactly 1 year after the events of Season 1. The season starts on October 28, 1984, and progresses from there. This specific timeline placement was important because it allowed the show to incorporate Halloween as a major element of the season. The Halloween episode features the boys in their Ghostbusters costumes and establishes the spooky autumn atmosphere. The timeline also meant the show could reference real 1984 events and culture. The season finale takes place at the Hawkins Middle School Snowball, which traditionally happens in early December. However, in the show's timeline, the snowball seems to occur in early to mid-November, making the entire season span about 2 weeks of story time. This compressed timeline creates urgency and tension as Will's possession by the Mind Flayer escalates quickly. The tight time frame also means characters don't have time to process trauma before new threats emerge. Setting the season in autumn allowed for beautiful cinematography with fall colors and atmospheric fog. The seasonal setting distinguished Season 2 visually from Season 1, which took place in late autumn and early winter. The Halloween timing also made the season perfect for an October 27, 2017 release date. Netflix capitalized on the spooky season by dropping all episodes right before Halloween weekend. The timing contributed to the season's massive success as viewers were already in the mood for scary content.
Here we go.
Fact 19. One of Season 2's most memorable locations was Bob Newby's workplace, which wasn't just any Radio Shack, but specifically a Radio Shack inside the WSQK radio station building. The production team built a completely custom WSQK radio station set located off Hutchison's Ferry and Phillips Road near Chattahoochee Hills, southwest of Atlanta. The station's design was inspired by the old WPTF radio station in Cary, North Carolina, which is licensed to Raleigh. Building custom sets like this allowed the production to have complete control over the look and feel of important locations. The attention to period-accurate detail in the radio station set was remarkable. Every piece of equipment, signage, and decoration reflected authentic 1984 radio station aesthetics. Bob working at the radio station's Radio Shack became plot relevant when his technical expertise helped save the group from the Demodogs at Hawkins' lab. The location also served as a meeting point for various characters throughout the season. Creating custom locations like the WSQK station rather than trying to find and modify existing buildings gave the production team more flexibility for camera angles and lighting. It also meant they could return to the set multiple times without worrying about availability or changes to real locations. The investment in detailed custom sets contributed to the show's authentic 80s atmosphere that fans loved.
Girls, yeah, they want you to be aggressive, you know, strong.
Fact 20. Season 2 used numerous Atlanta area locations to bring Hawkins, Indiana to life. Patrick Henry High School in Stockbridge, Georgia, served as Hawkins Middle School and Hawkins High School. The building provided the perfect 80s school aesthetic. Many wooded scenes were filmed at Stone Mountain Park and Georgia International Horse Park in Conyers. These locations appeared whenever the kids walked through the forest or rode bikes through the woods. The iconic scene where Will is possessed by the Mind Flayer on the football field was filmed at Patrick Henry High School Eagles grounds. Dustin and Steve walking along railroad tracks in Season 2 happened at Stone Mountain Park along the Cherokee Trail. Stone Mountain Cemetery was used for Bob's funeral scene. The old Georgia Mental Health Institute at Emory University's Briarcliff campus served as the exterior of Hawkins National Laboratory for both seasons. This psychiatric hospital opened in 1965 on the former estate of Coca-Cola, Heir Asa Candler Jr. The abandoned building provided the perfect creepy government facility look. Downtown Jackson, Georgia stood in for downtown Hawkins with its town square and vintage storefronts. Bellwood Quarry in Atlanta appeared in both seasons, including the dramatic scene where Eleven flips the van. Multiple residential neighborhoods in East Point, Georgia provided houses for various characters. The Byers family home is located in Stockbridge, though the owners prefer not to have their address posted publicly. The production team's smart use of Atlanta locations created a believable small-town Indiana setting that became iconic to fans worldwide. And there you have it, 20 wild facts about Stranger Things Season 2 that prove the upside down isn't the only strange thing about this show. From shirtless auditions to silicone Demodog puppets, the behind-the-scenes stories are just as entertaining as the season itself. Which fact surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below.